Commentary Booth is a show for media lovers by media lovers just like you. If you want to support the show, go to pariomagazine.com.au. Welcome to the Commentary Booth, where we watch and you guessed it, commentate on the week that was in movies and TV. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator Jamie Apps, and each week I'll be joined by a rotating cast of colour commentators to help you find your next viewing treat. This week I'm joined by a teacher and travel blogger who lists their favourite movie as Fight Club and favourite TV show as Band of Brothers. Welcome to the show, the man who loves to throw money down the drain by becoming a St. George Illawarra Dragons member, Buddy McClelland.
Hey, it's our new year. Every year I start hopeful.
Oh yeah, when you said it's our new year, I was like, yeah, every year's your new year, and it just 6 weeks in.
Yeah.
Gone.
Look, I have to stay hopeful. Between being a Dragons supporter and an Arsenal supporter, I'm used to it at this point. So I was surprised that the membership package didn't open up with a little box of tissues in there. So they must be confident this year.
And I guess at least you live close, like it's walking distance. You're not going to be spending money traveling and parking and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was a good membership. It was actually a gift, so thank you. But it was something that I'd thought about for a long time, but now we live so close to the stadium that it'd almost be silly not to. So I got a membership where you can get, because the Saints play between Sydney and Wollongong, you can just get a Wollongong membership. And then within that, they play 6 games at the stadium and you can get a 3-game membership. So I've only got really 3 games that you can kind of just go to whichever 3 you pick.
Oh, so you can just pick and choose the ones that you think they'll win.
Pretty much, yeah, or lose least.
So basically just pick the first 3 games that they play there and then not go to the rest of them.
Yeah, sometimes being a Saints fan, it's almost like you just pick when you want to see the good teams turn up in Wollongong.
Yeah, that's fair. And yeah, at least it's a close walk home. It's not like you have to drive home in tears. It's
very easy. Oh, it's not like the old days where I used to catch the train from Nowra and then I'd hang around to like boo at them after they lost really bad, but then I'd have to sprint the whole way back to the train station to get a 3-hour train home. So it's a bit different now. That's
no fun.
And I mean, I can watch sort of the in goal of one end and 10 meters from my balcony, but there's not too much happening in that space.
It's not quite the same. Well, no. At least one half it'd be busy and then the other half, nothing.
Yeah, true. Look, I've got to start every year hopeful. There's been some new signings, so we'll see how it goes. It's just like all the teams that I support, though. We tend to do what we did with Aubameyang. We sell players and save money and don't spend it again wisely.
Yeah. That Arsenal Amazon show, that's going to be an interesting watch when it finally comes out.
Huge. I can't wait. I've been waiting for my teams to be on one of those shows. As you know, I love those shows. So I've been waiting for my teams to be on one in years and years and years. So it'll be interesting. It's a good season for it, especially even the games before the Aubameyang thing. Like we were really struggling at the start of the year. So it'll be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah, it's just disappointing. It's not going to be a happy season to watch. It's going to be one of those ones where you're like watching it just going, what is going on?
Yeah, it tends to be most of those shows.
True. So what else has been happening and been watching recently?
I'm back at work, so my schedule of watching things has dropped off slightly now that I'm back putting a COVID test inside my nostril 5 days a week to go to work.
Do you have to do that every day?
Yeah, because I teach in a support unit in special education, it's a high risk. So It's supposed to be us and the kids do every single day. So me being an employee, I do it every single day. But the kids, I mean, you can't, it's a medical thing, so you can't question it or sort of even have a conversation about it generally. So you just hope that they do it. But for me, every morning is coffee and swab up the nostril or nostrils. But yeah,
jeez, that's rough. That is real rough.
Yeah, and even the other day, I just like, because you're doing so many, like I'm pretty good at it now, but I did it kind of, I usually do it and then go get ready, come back after the 15 minutes and check it and then kind of head out. But one day I didn't realize I put it upside down. So I came out and I thought the line was on the bottom, but really the test was just spun around. So I came out and was like scared that I had COVID, but excited that I got a week off, and then just realized all of it was for nothing because I just needed to flip it the right way.
Yep. Okay. That's an interesting way to start your morning, or emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, I've watched a few things. My favorite thing that's back on TV that was Australian Survivor. I'm hooked on that. Anne's got a friend that she used to go to uni with back in the day that is actually on there, so we had a reason to really watch it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but it's a new season where they've done what's called Blood versus Water, so that each person usually goes on by themselves, but now they've got two people that go on together. So they've got, for the case of that girl Shay Ellis, her and her boyfriend, they've got ex-footy players like Mick Crocker and his sister-in-law. They've got brothers, sisters, partners, cousins. So everybody has someone with them, and they all went in there with the understanding they get to play with this person. But as soon as they got there, they kind of said, okay, well, everyone that's on this side of me, you get a red bandana, and everyone this side of me, you get a blue bandana, and they immediately separated them. So then they're playing against the person that they love, which is a really cool twist on the normal Survivor, I think.
Yeah, especially when they were going in thinking, hey, we're going to be on the same team here. This will be a fun trip. And then...
Yeah, and immediately broke their hearts. And I guess when you're playing for rewards, I mean, you're taking the food out of your wife's mouth potentially. And then if you're playing for immunity, you're beating them in a chance that you could send your own partner home. So it makes it really interesting, especially when people get voted off, then they immediately have an enemy on the other side because you voted off someone they love, so they're out to get you. They mixed it up a bit. She calls herself Sandra, the Queen of Survivor. There's a lady that comes from the United States that came with her daughter. She's been on 5 series of Survivor in the US. She's won 2 of them.
Jesus.
So they've chucked her into the outback, into the mix of that. So I think they've really made a big effort this time to do something different. Not that I would have watched it if it was exactly the same, to be honest with you. But the new complexity of that makes it a quite interesting watch. So it's been enjoyable.
It's going to make it interesting when they get to the merge too. Like, it's kind of everyone's trying to get to the merge with their significant other still on the other team, I guess.
Yeah, and not to give away too much of it, but it seems as though every time someone gets voted out, if you or I were to go in there together, it seems as though if you got voted out and the next time I go in, that they pretty much vote me out next anyway. Like, the partnerships are pretty much staying quite solid. But I know this week's one tonight is going to be the drop the buffs and merge, but it's a random merge with 2 tribes again. So some people will get to be with their partners, some people won't. So it's going to be an interesting mix. So we'll see.
I do like that they've sort of tried to reinvent and add new gimmicks to the show rather than just repeating the same worn formula over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, the Survivor US, which is, I think Channel 9 has them on their streaming service. I started watching, it's like season 42 of Survivor in the US. So their one, they made a massive effort to try and do something different. They split the tribes rather than having 2 big tribes. They immediately started with 3 little tribes, so 6 people on each rather than 2 of 9. They rationed their food even heavier. So previously they were kind of getting rice and beans and things, and this time they only just gave them like the bare minimum of the rice that they could eat. So they're starving quicker. They threw more different types of advantages and things in. So it's obviously something that Survivor franchise is aware of and is trying to do. But I definitely think this mix is better than the season 42 one. It was a little bit overdone for me and didn't let the people kind of have control of the show as much, whereas the Aussie one, there's still space and time there for them to kind of build the relationships and break the relationships rather than just have it be controlled by the producers the whole time.
Yeah, like, I don't like the idea of all the different immunities and bits and pieces, but I feel like that idea of the 3 tribes could really create some interesting dynamics as well.
Yeah, it does. And I think the hard thing at the start of Survivor is that it's almost like the army training sort of a thing. You really want to be the grey man, the person that's kind of not sucking at the bottom, not killing it at the top, but just hovering in the middle and no one seems to notice that you're there. And when they have small tribes, it's just impossible to do that. So yeah, I like
true.
the small tribes for that.
Yeah, like I've noticed that on the few seasons I've watched. You see the people in the middle just kind of do nothing and coast along until the merge, and then that's when they have to sort of come out of their shell. But yeah, with those smaller tribes of 6, very hard to be the middle guy. Like, you're gonna be good at something and pop up at the top somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. It's like they had it a year 3 years ago. It was Christy, and she just got dragged along the entire time, and she won. Like, it was, and everyone at the end of it felt so let down because, like, well played to her. She survived out in I think I was in Fiji at that time, and they survived out there for 40 days, or whatever it is, and she suffered, but she just really didn't do much. And at the end of it, you're like, well, I guess people can survive by just kind of hanging on to the coattails of other people, but it just wasn't, you felt ripped off by the end of it, which isn't something that you kind of want after watching a show for that long.
Yeah, you want those heroes and villains. Like, you don't just want the person in the middle that kind of does nothing to get up. Like, you want someone to root for.
It seems they're very conscious of casting people that are willing to be those heroes and villains now. Like, I think before it was kind of, they would just cast people that would float along, but it seems this one they've got people that are either pretty well known. I mean, like, Khan is a character off of, a contestant, I should say, off of MasterChef a couple of times. And I know, like, even Anne's friend, I think she's probably considered an influencer on Instagram. And I mean, all the people they've got on there are ex-athletes, ex-Survivor players. So they've really been conscious of getting people that are quite big personalities that will actually step into those roles. Sandra, the queen of Survivor, they flew her in on a helicopter while everyone else had to walk. And then she's just immediately gone about trying to burn the whole thing to the ground. So yeah, it makes for a much more interesting show if they're people that are willing to be a bit more out there.
Yeah, like in that earlier season when they had Matt, the wrestler from Sydney.
Yep.
When he was on there, he was like one of those people that was just like, I'm just going to be my wrestling character on here and just really annoy people and go over the top with my celebrations and stuff. And they're the sort of people you want to see because they're fun to watch, even though they might be annoying.
Yeah, definitely. And they used to have more characters like that. It used to be, they had like Henry, who was just like a labourer, but went in pretending to be a yoga instructor. And people used to really try and just like have backstories for it. And I mean, Andy that was on there this year, who was from a previous season, he wore his golf hat in there as a bit of an homage to his last time on there. But he's just a random bloke that went in there telling everybody he was a professional golf instructor. Like, I enjoy it when people have those backstories and have a good crack at immediately manipulating people. So it's interesting. Like, it's a good season. Anne and I are very much hooked on it. She hates Married at First Sight. So, I mean, there's the other option for us to watch that. So, yeah, really enjoying Survivor, hanging for it to come out every time it comes out. So, loving it.
That is a surprise that Anne hates Married at First Sight. I thought she would have been one that loved that show.
You know what? It makes me happy that she hates it because the reason that she hates it is because she thinks it devalues people's real marriages and just makes it a joke.
That's fair.
Being married to her makes me feel happy that she thinks that.
Yeah, true. She definitely values the marriage aspect.
Yeah, and she I think that 3 of them came out as actors already, like paid actors.
Sounds about right.
Yeah,
there is someone from Wollongong on there though, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's a crazy show, but I mean, what I always say to her is you got to go into that show just knowing that it's all staged and it's all just drama for the sake of drama.
Yeah, like I think there's some people that go on there for the right reasons, but at this point now, most of the people that are going on there are just trying to get that 15 minutes of fame and hopefully turn it into a radio career or a modeling career or something along those lines.
Yeah.
The other thing you were watching was 100 Foot Wave. I started it after you said you were going to watch it, and wow, those guys are nuts.
Yeah, crazy. So that's 100 Foot Wave off of, you're watching on Binge, remember?
Yep.
Yeah, so it follows the story of Garrett McNamara. So he's a Hawaiian big wave surfer who pretty much ended his career and had given up on the surfing scene and had opened a surf shop up and was just kind of doing day-to-day. Changed his mind, realized he really wanted to follow big wave surfing as his career. and they ended up being the first person to really publicly surf Nazaré, which is a big wave break in Portugal. It's the one that most people would have seen. There was a recent video where a guy was surfing. It was well over 100 foot that wave, which is like 32 meters of wave, which, like, when you think about surfing, people kind of underestimate the power of and the weight of the water when it hits you. I think when I was reading the actual force that wave has behind it, if it landed on you, it's the equivalent of having 1,300 Volkswagen Beetles land on top of you.
Ow.
Yes. I mean, it's a crazy wave, and the way that it breaks, normally in places kind of like there's Mavericks in the United States, there's big wave stop, there's Jaws in Hawaii, which is the one that people would normally see with the helicopters flying over in Hawaii. Those places come off on reefs where there's massive waves that are coming in, sort of pushing upwards of sort of 60, 70, 80 feet. But there's always a channel where you can see it, and that's where the boats always are, and people take the videos from, things like that, and you're safe in that channel. Nazaré in Portugal comes from really deep, and they do they do a really good job of explaining it, I think, and how it breaks.
Explaining how.
Yeah, and it comes from quite deep. It comes up, but then it breaks onto basically what is a beach break, which is just sand moving around and a headland, and it's very unpredictable. So, I mean, it's hard to be rescued there. It's hard to be safe there, and the waves are far bigger there. If you ever get the chance to see, I can't remember his name, but there was a guy that was pushing 150 feet, like, and it's crazy to see that tiny little surfer on that giant wave, and they're doing kind of upwards of 100 kilometers an hour on a surfboard that's just bouncing the whole time with that wave behind them. It's terrifying. It's nuts that they do it.
Yeah, like they did a really good job of explaining how that wave breaks. Like, the water comes up through this canyon, which is super deep and bigger than the Grand Canyon, they were saying. And because it comes in from so low and gets like filtered through this channel, it gets faster and faster. And then it hits the end of it, just kicks straight up. And I think they were saying like it's the equivalent of like an 8-story building. And like that, when they said that, I was like, well, that puts into perspective just how big these waves are.
Yeah, and if you come off, it's like life or death, like literally life or death. And that's if you got to hope that you don't get injured. It's been a big thing in surfing for probably the last 5 to 10 years. It's gone from everyone started tow surfing so they could surf these giant waves. And I think the hard thing is once you get past a certain height, it becomes nearly impossible for you to paddle onto those waves. But just because, like you said, the speed that they move at. So there was a very big stage where people were just exclusively towing into waves. The jet skis got better. The technology for the vests got better. So they have basically life vests that are kind of protective. And if they get double hold downs, and they're under there for quite a long time, and they go quite deep when they get held down, but they have a little, like a ripcord, and it can open gas fires and they get kind of floated back to the top. So the risk at the moment is that a lot of people have a jet ski and can buy the technology to try and save themselves, but they don't necessarily have the skills to surf the wave or survive the hold downs. So they're getting quite a lot of people that just shouldn't be out there crowding up places that shouldn't be crowded. There's accidents with jet skis going over the falls on those waves, and then the jet ski rider gets stuck at the same time, plus the jet ski could hit you. So yeah, it's a really big thing in surfing at the moment that the people have kind of pushed back towards paddling into those waves. So I think that'll be the next thing you see is people really trying to paddle into bigger and bigger waves because it's a bit more respected than being towed into. But that doesn't take away from what Garrett McNamara and all those guys out there do. It's insane. And if you haven't seen it, definitely something that you should see to just take in what they can actually do on a surfboard.
Oh yeah, like it's just the vision is crazy, and like just the danger too. Like they were talking about how that particular break, like you said, it doesn't break consistently in the one spot backwards and forwards. Like you'll have one wave over here and then the next one will pop up coming this way, the opposite side. And they just rear up out of nowhere. And then the jet ski, because they have to go into that whitewash, it has no traction when it gets in there in like the foamy stuff. And you see a moment where he's trying to rescue someone and he's clearly pulling the throttle and it's just in foam and not moving. It's just like, oh, there's a wave coming and we can't move. Like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah,
Crazy
I mean,
stuff.
that guy is an absolute weapon of a surfer. So it's crazy the bit to me where he took his girlfriend, his wife out, and then she came off and nearly drowned. Like,
Yeah, like one of the first days that they were there, and from that moment, she was like, I'm just gonna sit on the cliff and be the spotter and call stuff out for you. Like, I'm not going back in there. That's too scary. She won't even go out there on the jet ski.
You never get me near anything like that going out there. But what a cool place to be able to go and watch it. Like that headland at Nazare is just insane. Like the whole town and the way they talk about the town and how it's kind of sprung back to life a bit from the tourism element of the big wave surfing is quite cool too. And the town helping him become that sort of first surfer out there as well.
Yeah, for the council and everything to invest in their project and getting Nazare put on the map as a tourist location because of the waves was pretty cool. And like you were saying with the power of the waves, like even if you go down to the local beach, like a 2-foot wave, like when that hits you, like, oh yeah, hang on, there's a lot of power behind this wave, and so 100-foot wave, no thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's scary when you think about it. Some really bad things can happen out of it. So well done, Garrett. You can keep that to yourself, I think, mate. I'll watch you on TV.
Yeah, no thank you. That's all yours. And yeah, speaking of crazy people, I went to the Roxy Cinema and saw Jackass Forever last week.
Oh, they're back.
Yep, second time at the Roxy in like 3 weeks. Like I went and saw Scream 5, and then I went back a week or two later and saw Jackass Forever, which is, the 4th film in the Jackass franchise. They welcome back the majority of the original cast. So Johnny Knoxville's back, Steve-O, Chris Pontius, Dave England, Wee Man, Danger Erin, and Preston Lacey are all back. Bam Margera was originally in the cast, but was fired during filming, which he has come out after being fired and said it was because he tested positive to Adderall, which is a drug that he's been on for his ADHD for a long time. But yeah, so he got dumped out of it. But they also welcome in a bunch of new cast members. They add, this guy has the worst nickname, Sean Poopies McInerney, Zach Holmes, Jasper Dolphin, Rachel Wolfson. So they add a woman to the cast, and Eric Manica. And then there's cameos from skateboarders Nick Molino, David Gravett, Aaron Jaws, Homoki, Rob Dyrdek, Eric Andre pops up, Francis Ngannou, the UFC fighter, Danielle O'Toole, who's a softball pitcher, PK Subban, the ice hockey player, Tori Balachi from Mythbusters is on the movie, which was pretty funny. He's trying to help them light a fart underwater. So he's there for the science aspect. Machine Gun Kelly, Tyler the Creator, and then Tony Hawk makes a brief cameo in the opening intro sequence skit. Like as long as you go in expecting a Jackass movie, don't go in there expecting fine high class cinema. You're just going in to watch people do dumb crap and hurt themselves, then you'll enjoy this one. It's more of the same. 2 very significant injuries in this movie rather than the previous ones. They all seem to kind of get out of them sort of fairly scot-free. This one, Steve-O and Johnny Knoxville both had to go to hospital. Steve-O broke his collarbone, and then they ended up cutting the skit from the movie anyway, so great for him. And Johnny Knoxville broke a rib, broke his wrist, had the worst concussion he has ever had, he said, and also had a hemorrhage on his brain from trying to redo, I think it's from Jackass 3, where he dances in front of the bull and gets hit and flipped up in the air, and he redoes that, gets hit by the bull, flips up in the air the exact same way, but just comes down funny, lands on his wrist, breaks his rib, and is out cold. Has no memory of the skit ever even happening. So Yeah,
I mean,
he flips the exact same way. Like,
they've got to be like how many years older now? 20 years older.
yeah, and Johnny
20 years
Knoxville's
more
in his
sober. 20 years older. Like, I can't see myself.
Johnny's in his
I tore
50s.
my calf muscle playing golf the other day at 33. So I can't imagine what getting hit by a bull would do to you. At Johnny Knoxville's like got to be like pushing 45.
He's 50.
50.
He's 50 getting run over by bulls. Like, no wonder you're breaking bones.
The other day at 50, but I can't imagine getting hit by a bull.
Yeah, not fun at all. But yeah, like, I really enjoyed it. I was laughing all throughout, so it's very good. Some of the highlight stunts were Steve-O getting a beard of bees on his penis, which did not look fun at all. Wee Man lets a vulture eat strips of meat from his naked body and groin. That looked very, very scary.
I'd be scared, Wee Man, they're going to just fly off with you in their clutches.
Mm-hmm. Danger Aaron redoes the cup test from, I think, the original Jackass. So basically, he's wearing this cup. He lets the softball pitcher throw at him, and the first attempt, he like turns and just cops it directly in the thigh, leaves this massive bruise, and then the second attempt, she nails it first, like right dead center. Then he has PK Subban just drilling hockey pucks at him, gets it right in the cup. And then the last test is Francis Ngannou, UFC fighter who has the record hardest punch ever. He just punches him right in the dick. And like even like the hockey puck just leaves it's just a steel cup, leaves a big dent in it. Yeah, it just does not look fun at all. And then some of the others were they dump a giant bucket of pig semen all over Dave England, unawares. He's just sitting there doing what he thinks is just like an interview feature to the camera, and then just covered. They lock some of the new Johnny Knoxville and the team just come up with these stupid ideas. They lock the newcomers in a room with, they show them a rattlesnake, and then the lights go out, and the rattlesnake is put away, but they think it's still in there. And there's just a guy with a rattle, just like shaking a rattle, and they're just terrified.
I like that one.
that one was funny because they are just absolutely panicking. Rachel Wolfson, the first female jackass, gets a scorpion. She lets them sting her lips with a scorpion. It's nature's Botox.
Oh.
And then I think the funniest one though is they strap Dave into an electric chair, and they start off, they're doing like a lie detector test, and every time he lies they shock him. But then while he's strapped into this chair and can't move, Johnny Knoxville just starts pouring honey all over him, and then just sits some salmon on his lap and leaves the room.
Oh, no.
And then they let a bear into the room. And he's just like, what the hell is going on? And it just looks so scared. Like, I would be too. I'm covered in honey and this bear is licking honey off my lap.
Surely no insurance company touches them. Like, the bear gets you, it's on you.
I assume, yeah. I doubt they have. They probably have it for like random injuries, but yeah, when you're doing something with a bear locked in a room, it's like, we're not covering that one. And since the movie has come out, Jeff Tremaine has stated that they filmed enough content for 2 movies. So I'm hoping at some point we get, like all the previous releases, Jackass 4.5, which will be all the stuff that got cut, and we might actually see how Steve-O broke his collarbone.
Okay. It's like, it's good that, I mean, like, there's so much content out there now of people that, like, obviously, seeing people get hurt is something that people just are scared. It's just something that people think is funny. But there's all these probably TikTokers and content creators out there now that wouldn't have even had a career without the Jackass movies. So it's good that they're at least kind of coming back to the people that started it and giving them a shot again to be in the limelight because a lot of people owe a lot of money and career to what these guys started. As stupid as it is, it wouldn't be existing without them.
Those dudes are at the forefront of just film your mates doing dumb stuff, and they made a 20-year career out of it.
Yeah.
Chris Pontius has done an interview recently and said Jackass 4.5 is coming, and he said it'd be released on Netflix, but I highly doubt that's correct. I would assume, since it's a Paramount production, it'll be a Paramount Plus release. Like, it'd be weird if it was on Netflix. I really liked this movie. It felt like it was a farewell to that original cast, because like Johnny has said, this is the last one I'm doing. Wee Man said it was the most painful movie out of all the previous Jackass movies. So it felt like a farewell to those guys while sort of simultaneously trying to pass the torch to that new cast.
Yeah.
And there was a really nice tribute to Ryan Dunn at the end as well. So like it finishes like trying to hit you in the feels, which is a unusual sort of thing you don't really expect from Jackass. And basically, you have to stay through the whole credits because it's not like the standard movie credits where it's white text, black screen, white text scrolling up. It's just more like clips and bits of Ryan, outtakes, clips from like the past and stuff. Like really cool credit sequence. So definitely worth sticking around till the very, very end.
Disappointing about Bam.
Yeah, no, like, couldn't you just like not take drugs for what the couple of months that you were filming this movie?
Yeah, was it? I think Vice did a little like mini documentary on him, and you could see how like just far off the rails he'd just fallen, which is really sad. I mean, because he was really one of the best characters on there. Like he kind of was quite funny, and his family, like Phil, and like he had his own show for a while. But then, every time you kind of hear about him, you hope that he's gotten a bit better, but it just sounds like he just can't get it together. And a crew of people that, like Steve-O was, if you ever listen to him speak, like every drug under the sun and every situation under the sun, and he's managed to pull it together. So if Steve-O can't help you out, then I don't know how much hope there is. Like I hope he can sort himself out.
Yeah, seeing Steve-O in this, like he looks super healthy. Like it's cool to see him go from where he was to where he is now. Like he looks like he's in great shape. So cool to see. And like you said, like Bam was one of those core members. Like you think of Jackass, the people you picture are Knoxville, Steve-O, Bam, and Chris Pontius. Like they're the four that you think of, and then obviously Wee Man's pretty big as well. But to not have him in it, like it's weird. There's one skit that they filmed before he got fired, which makes the cut, but he's like dressed up in this marching band outfit, and he's like, it's real quick, like barely see him, and then he's not in the movie at all. So strange. Like it'll be interesting to see how he goes with that lawsuit. I can't imagine he'll win, because if they had a like you need to be sober clause in their contracts, he's got no hope. So a bit disappointing, but overall, Jackass Forever definitely worth a watch if you're a Jackass fan. If you don't like that style of movie, you are not going to like this movie at all.
You know what you're getting.
And now, a quick word from our sponsors. First up is Decorate and Dance. For them, life is a party. And now, as summer rolls around, the parties will be coming thick and fast. If you are hosting a party or an event, then all of the ingredients for a good time start with the 3 Ds. Design, decorate, and dance. You can't have a party without a theme, design, balloons, florals, and more, decorations, and some good tunes, dance. The team over at Decorate and Dance can provide it all, specializing in kids' parties, adults' parties, hens nights, baby showers, corporate events, and weddings. Decorate and Dance provide everything you'll need to have a great event. Book a designer, decorations, and a DJ for a party to be remembered at www.decorateanddance.com.au. That's www.decorateandDance.com.au. Next up is LF9 Designs. You in need of a new logo or event posters, Twitch overlays or emotes, or even merchandise designs? Then look no further than the team at LF9 Design for all of your graphic design needs. The team there can provide anything you need to suit all styles. Check them out on Instagram at LF9 Design. The thing I watched was a Netflix improv comedy series called Murderville. Have you seen that one pop up?
I watched the first episode of Conan O'Brien.
What did you think of that first episode?
I found it really funny. I like how it seems like it reminded me of, like, remember Thank God You're Here? It was like the sketch show and they kind of walked in there and there's the cast and everything, but it felt like a really well-produced version of like Thank God You're Here, where they somehow linked it together to be a whole episode of a TV show rather than just a one set skit. Like I didn't see that coming. I knew it was an improv thing, but I didn't see it coming that it would be like a full episode of a show where he tried to work it out and it was being different settings and a cafe and a police station and all those different places. I thought they'd just be stuck. So I found the acting really funny, and I always really like the moments in those shows where you can see that the person that's improvising has almost got the person that's not improvising to break character because they think something's really funny. I just love the honesty in it, and I think Conan was quite funny.
Yeah. So basically on this show, they have 6 celebrity guests acting as a rookie detective in this Murderville town. And basically they have to come on. They're not given any script at all. Everyone else obviously has a script and know who the murderer is, but these guests come on, no script, have to just work their way through the scenes, and then at the end of the episode they're asked who the murderer was and have to sort of base it on what they've experienced. And yeah, like it was funny. There was a lot of moments where like it's absolutely hilarious, but then there's a bunch of moments as well that kind of just really cringy and don't quite hit. And yeah, it's a good watch, but it's also one that can easily just be like, I'm not enjoying this. And for me, I turned off after the Kumail Nanjiani episode. So the 6 guests are Conan O'Brien. Episode 2 is Marshawn Lynch. Then we get Kumail Nanjiani, Annie Murphy, Sharon Stone, and Ken Jeong. And like, I wanted to push through to see the Ken Jeong one, but yeah, it's just, it might be one that you just chuck on randomly when you've got half an hour because they're short episodes, but it's not one that I could sit down and binge all 6 at once. Like, it was very sort of grating after 3.
Yeah, I think those shows are always so heavily reliant on the person that they have on there. Like the Thank God You're Here days or the episodes, I was just hanging for the Frank Woodley episodes. Like, obviously I'm a big Lennon Woodley fan, but he was just brilliant at improv, and it's just so heavily reliant on that. So, I mean, if you've got people on there, it would have been nice to see Netflix get 6 episodes at Ken Jeong level rather than kind of, I mean, Conan's funny, but he's not Ken Jeong. I feel like they really could have. I'd love to see a Will Ferrell. Oh, yeah, I'd love to see a Will Ferrell one.
I'm surprised they didn't lead with Ken Jeong. Leading with Conan seems like a strange choice.
Yeah, I guess they knew they only had the one big name, so try and get people to the end.
The Marshawn Lynch one is very funny. I'll admit that Marshawn's funny just because he's just like ridiculous. It's just like, it's one point where he's like trying to fight a guy, and I was like, whoa. This, I don't know how like on board with this part the guy that's got the script is with this, but yeah, for me, like I had to turn off after 3. Like, it might be one that I revisit at a later point when I'm sitting there one night where I was like, half an hour before I probably should go to bed, I'll chuck this on. So, yeah, interesting, but definitely not for everyone.
Yeah, agreed.
And then not for everyone, but it feels like everyone is watching this other show that you're watching, Manifest. How are you finding that?
That's the same for me as what you just said about the last one. It's like a show that I turned on expecting just to have as background noise, but then found myself getting a little bit hooked in. So that's on Netflix. I think it's got 4 seasons now. And I guess it's really influenced by, Netflix puts up like the everyone else is watching this. So you go, I'll give it a crack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, top 10 on Netflix.
I don't even know if everyone else actually is watching it or if they just want you to watch it, but it definitely hooked me in. But it's a series based on these people are flying from Jamaica back to the USA. Some of them get pushed onto a different flight, and so families get separated and all sorts of things. The first flight goes totally fine, lands, no worries. The second flight gets some really severe turbulence along the way, but nothing else really kind of weird feels like it's happened after that. But when they land the plane, it's 5.5 years later. And for them, no time's passed. They haven't aged or anything. But they land, they are immediately surrounded by a bunch of sort of FBI and taken away into these certain places and debriefed and interviewed. And then they try and put their lives back together after being away for 5.5 years. I felt like it was going to have just that, but then it took on like a bit of a supernatural element where they're kind of connected and they have like these premonitions and things. So, I mean, it gives me a bit of I kind of find it like Lost without the jungle. Like it's like Lost, the TV series, but they're kind of in New York City. Like it's, but they're just at home. Yeah, and I mean, like it's interesting because their relationships, some of their marriages have ended, and then they're back thinking they can get back together with their wife, or certain family members have passed away in that 5 years, and it's interesting and it's good to watch. But it's the similar sort of a thing where it's not going to win any awards, but it hooked me in more than I thought it would.
Okay, yeah, like it does feel like everybody's watching this. Like my mum's watching it. I know Blake was watching it.
Yeah.
Jess, that was on a few weeks ago, is watching it. On the Netflix Facebook groups I'm in, it feels like everybody's watching it. So I think the Netflix top 10 is probably accurate, but yeah, it feels like it's not a show I want to watch. But I like the idea of them sort of playing into maybe like the Bermuda Triangle aspect.
Yeah.
But yeah. I feel like adding those weird like premonition supernatural elements is a bit strange.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming. But it does, like, at first I thought that. I was like, oh, no, don't do that. Like, the time travel was enough. But then I found myself kind of getting, I guess, sucked into the storyline of why is it happening? And, oh, my God, they just saved this person. And, again, it was something that I found that at the start, I instantly kind of was like you pushed away by, but then got sucked back into. So, I mean, if you're going to pull four seasons out of something that is happening like that, you can't really just have the one thing. I guess they've got to try and make it a bit more complex and link it all together. So yeah, interesting, lots of little twists and turns and stuff in it. It is a good show to have just if you've got nothing else to watch and you're kind of cruising. But yeah, I don't think it's going to win any awards, but it's one of those shows that will definitely suck you in.
Yep. Yeah, like the time travel element, there's so many things you could play with there. Like you said, there's obviously the people who have been there the whole time, they think their partner's dead, and then they come back and they've moved on. So it's like, what do you do? Whereas the other person had no time passed, so they was like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, they had twins that got separated. So they were like brother and sister twins that were exactly the same age. And then when they got back, one of them had aged and the other one hadn't. So you end up with like a 14-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Yeah, wow, that's weird. Yeah, but yeah, like it sounds like, it's basically just Lost, but in the city, not the jungle.
Yeah, and I guess like the smart thing for a show like that is if you separate two lots of people on two lots of planes, you basically have a plane full of characters to draw on. So if you need a different storyline, there's lots of little individual things happening rather than following kind of one family. They kind of keep adding different people from the plane into each episode and building on the story that way. So you start with one family and build out. I mean, they have stowaways and all sorts of things. So yeah, they've obviously got plenty of options because planes have plenty of seats.
Are they falling into the trap of Lost did where they pose a bunch of questions but never sort of answer any of them?
Like I said, I've gone back to work, so I'm only about nearly at the end of the first season. So I mean, there's 4 seasons in there. I'm nervous about that, but I couldn't tell you if it's happened yet.
Okay, yeah, that was what turned me off Lost in the end. I was like, I think I got 2 or 3 seasons in, and they just kept adding more elements without explaining any of the previous ones, and I was like, okay, I'm done. This is going too far.
So far, they're doing a good job of linking them back into the old stuff rather than just randomly throwing things in.
That's good. As long as there's some sort of connection there. It's not just like, Oh, now we're adding this element in for no discernible reason.
Yeah. Yeah, now there's a monster in the jungle.
And then the last thing you were watching, I wish we'd had you for episode that we just recorded for episode 100.
Yeah, you can blame the dogs for that one.
Since you mentioned that this is connected to Downton Abbey and there's a Downton Abbey movie coming, I would have liked to
Ready for
hear your
that
thoughts on
too.
that.
I hated Downton Abbey like a couple of years ago, and then it got me, and I got absolutely hooked watching Mr. Bates trying to find what happened to the perfect silver spoons, and I am hooked on Downton Abbey. I'm keen for the movie to come out, but now
Did you
I've started.
did you fall in love with Downton Abbey after The Crown? Is that sort of what was the turning point for you?
No, I don't think so. I think I was the opposite. I think I watched The Crown because I liked Downton Abbey. So
Oh,
like I went back and watched things. Like yeah, it's obviously Anne, my wife, is I don't know if she had like a past life back in that age in like the early 1900s or whatever. But man, she loves things from that time, like Jane Austen and the Brontes, and Downton Abbey is like by far her favorite show. And I think for me watching it's a very well made show. And it at first I used to make fun of the simplicity of the storylines and the drama that they pull out of, oh my god, we can't find the right type of bread, or like just really little things became this really blown up thing. But then I found myself really into it, and it's just, I don't know, it left me feeling good. Like it didn't need to have time travel, and it didn't need to have, no, there was death, but it didn't need to have death and violence. And it was kind of a positive, almost an uplifting kind of drama. I still do find the kind of the pomp and ceremony of it all kind of a bit wanky, but I definitely enjoy watching it now. So we just started, I think it's the same producer from Downton Abbey has now created the Gilded Age. That's on Paramount Plus, and it is pretty much the same thing, but in New York. So it's the idea of, I think it's actually set a little earlier. I think it's late 1800s rather than Downton Abbey is kind of early 1900s rolling into World War One. But it's all about the new money versus the old money in New York City in that time. And yeah, it's very much the same thing. I was super sad this morning because some of the new money invited 200 guests over for a party to show them their new house, and nobody arrived at the party, and that made me really sad. I mean, it's got me. I just love that, the drama without having horror, I guess. Like it's hooked me in. It's very much the American version though. I don't find it, I mean, I'm only one full episode through at the moment, only kind of just came out. But yeah, I definitely prefer Downton Abbey still at this point. It's definitely a good gap stopper until the film comes out.
Is the Gilded Age like, I imagine it's like pre revolutionary and Civil War for the US?
It's just post. Yeah, and they immediately touch on, there's an African American lady that helps one of the main characters sort of early in the scenes, and she has to then go and stay with this lady who they're quite close friends, but immediately she has to go and stay in the servants' quarters and stuff. So it's not something that they're shying away from. But I mean, obviously something that they need to address. So yeah, it's kind of set just that little bit before. No cars or anything yet. I mean, Downton Abbey had the very early like Brum. Remember Brum from ABC?
Yep.
Like Brum cars, but this one they're still horse and carts and things like that. So yeah, it's a good show. I like it. It's very well put together. The cast is very good. Forgotten the name of the actress, but she's in a bunch of stuff. She's, you know, the movie The Grinch.
Yeah.
You know Martha May, like the love interest of the Grinch.
Yep.
That lady that plays that character plays a very similar, like high-end old money lady. It has the redheaded lady. I should got their names, but the redheaded lady out of Sex and the City.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, Miranda.
Yeah,
I can't remember her actual name.
Yep.
Yeah, she's on there. That's embarrassing too that Anne's been watching the new Sex and the City, so I know the Sex and the City character names better than the actor names, but Miranda is on there. But yeah, they've got some pretty strong cast on there, and it's really interesting. So another really proper, nice drama to watch for Anne and I, and it's gonna be something we'll definitely watch the whole way through.
If it's like you said, if it's the same producer as Downton Abbey, I wonder if this is their way of like giving a US spin to period drama, because I know like Downton Abbey seems to be big outside the US, and like there's a few people in America that watch it, but I wonder if having this American touchstone story will sort of introduce people to this style of period drama, and then from there, Americans will then go over and watch the Downton Abbey series.
I think so, because I think I did it the opposite way, and I have a hard time of, I guess we're as Australians probably a little more aligned with the British way of life. And I honestly, going into it, until I kind of got through that first episode and noticed that I felt sad that no one had arrived at her party, that I instantly felt kind of against, I guess, the American style of this. They're building railroads and it's the Vanderbilts and everyone's kind of just got all this money all of a sudden, and we're millionaires that can just buy whatever we want. So I found that I was against it, but the thing that got me to kind of come across from Downton Abbey to that was that there's the mother in Downton Abbey herself is American, so there's a character link. I don't know if they're going to actually try and link the character in, but I guess there's an element in Downton Abbey that is American, and they play on that a lot in the episodes. So it makes you interested as a Downton Abbey fan to watch the opposite. So I wouldn't be surprised if the American people naturally, like you're saying, want to watch something about old America, if they bring in a British element and kind of get you to kind of go across that way, because that's definitely how it worked as a Downton Abbey fan for me.
I wonder if we get in the future the Downton Abbey cross Gilded Age crossover.
Yeah,
maybe that's what the movie is. Maybe that's what the movie is. I have no idea.
Hey, you need to just get through the Downton Abbey first. You'll find yourself worrying about spoon formations and being the most polite version of yourself you've ever been.
I still need to get through The Crown. I started that and then just fell off it.
Well, if the Queen's like, was it double platinum diamond sapphire jubilee or whatever she's got going on now, so now's the time.
I gotta finish The Crown. I gotta finish Peaky Blinders. Start all these British shows and then just drop off.
Yeah, Downton Abbey is one of those shows like Game of Thrones, where all I need to do is hear the music from the start, and I get really excited by it. It gets me. Never thought I'd be that person. I don't know how I go from the 100-foot wave to Downton Abbey, but I love it.
Okay. What else have we got? Oh, there's something else I wanted to chat about that I've totally forgotten now.
Bel-Air?
It was... What the heck was it?
Bel-Air?
No, because that's not out yet, even though I wanted to. It was one of the TV shows coming up. Oh, you mentioned Game of Thrones. What are your thoughts on the upcoming House of the Dragon Game of Thrones prequel series?
Yeah, I'm very interested. It had a couple of really interesting actors that they've put in there already too. I can't remember who they were though. It was... was it Jay from the In-Betweeners? It was someone similar to that. But they had some really interesting actor choices. I might be wrong on that one, but they had some really interesting actor choices. It's like I'm saying for the Downton Abbey Gilded Age. Just because of how much I love Game of Thrones, I'm immediately going to give anything similar a red hot go.
Oh yeah, like I'm going to at least watch it, but after that last season of Game of Thrones, I'm not holding high hopes for it unless there is actual George R.R. Martin books to base this off. If they're just writing this themselves, this could be a sketchy season.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, they've got the audience and they've got the production budget, so let's hope. Let's just hope they make episodes that you can actually see that aren't so dark that you have to turn your TV on to like ultra bright.
Oh, that was so bad in that last season. Especially like that last episode, I was like, I don't think I saw any of that. I think I just heard all of that episode.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited by it. I hope it. When does it come out?
They haven't given a date yet. They said it's this year and it's on the binge as coming soon, but there's no like actual date.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll be ready and waiting.
Yep. Unlike the other show that I know you'll be excited about, Halo on Paramount Plus. They've finally given us a date for that one.
That show is just like it looks like it's going to be pretty good, but it is just like 15 years too late. Like they had a moment where they kept saying they were going to do it, and people would make up these fake videos and all sorts of stuff. Like everybody was ready for that Halo show or Halo movie 15 years ago. I'm glad that it's coming, but I think maybe at this point, like they do have kids and stuff that play the games and things, and obviously there's a lot of like a generation of people like you and I that grew up on it that will give it a good go. But imagine as that kid still, that teenager, if it came out then, like it would have been perfect. So I'm really hopeful, and it looks really, really good. And the CGI obviously has gotten into a position where it's ready to go. But yeah, I just wish it was earlier.
Yeah, like if that had came out when we were 2022, like that would have been phenomenal, perfect timing. But I'm interested to see where it goes. But you've got one more episode before that comes out, and then the next episode after that, it's definitely on our list to chat about and see.
We'll do it.
See if it lives up to our expectations.
I just hope it's not like one big cutscene. That's what I found with myself in the Halo games, and the most recent Halo game is that sometimes they just drag on in the cutscenes with the Covenant and things. So hopefully they do the drama well.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of trying to tell its own story. They're not just trying to rehash an old Halo story. It looks like they're sort of taking bits and pieces from the show, from the games, to then create their own story, which I'm excited for.
Hopefully there'll be a Downton Abbey Halo crossover where the Master Chief needs to find his perfect silverware.
That would be something. That would definitely be something. Alrighty, that's everything for the week. What is your top recommendation for people to check out?
Well, if you're a TV person, I'm hooked on Survivor. I love Survivor. But if you are someone that has never seen anybody ride an 8-story building-sized wave, the 100-foot wave.
Yep. For me, it's Jackass Forever. Obviously, it's not going to be for everyone. You need to be a Jackass fan, but if you are, it is exactly what you wanted from a 4th Jackass movie. Alrighty, thank you everyone for listening to the commentary booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. Next week is episode 100, and we are hyping up the 2022 biggest movie releases. You can follow me on social media at JamieUpsMedia and at Pario Magazine. Follow Buddy on Instagram at a.b_CSEE.
Thank you.
The Commentary Booth is a fan-funded production of Jamie Apps Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine, Pario Magazine, on Patreon at patreon.com/Jamie Apps Media. The following people supported at the community support group level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support. Blake Robinson, Brian and June Hart, Courtney Paulson, Darren Hatcliffe, Jackson Carr, and Tracy Apps.